Well, hello guys. This is the second video in the course on value investing, long-term investing, and in this video we're gonna try to value a business like Warren Buffett does it. All right. So we're gonna describe a small business and then we're gonna try to value it. All right. So in this case, we only have like one single owner because we want to keep things simple. We just want to understand what a business looks like and how do you value it. How did he calculate that value of the stock in the previous case, previous video. So all right, here's our one single owner. His name is John. He owns a cafe. All right, so here's John and he has his whole cafe. Now let's say you buy a stock in John's company. All right, it's listed on the stock market. You buy the stock. Now what is the role that you are playing in this company? Well, you are actually the owner. All right, you need to understand that the owners never really work for the company. They are the owners who invest in the company. All right, so in this case, just like John has had some kind of an initial investment. He ran into some initial investment, bought the cafe. All right, we don't know how he bought it. Is it leased or whatever it is? We want to get into that later on. But in this case, John here, we know that he has a cafe. He has a single employee in there. We want to keep things simple, like I said. So he has a single employee in there who is working for him, and she's really managing everything from running the cafe, doing the accounting, doing the books, everything, customer care, all of these things. That single employee is really doing. All right, John doesn't do anything. He just sits around at home, and at the end of the year he just collects the payments when they are ready. All right, so whatever the income is that this cafe really generates, that is collected by John. All right, and if you buy the stock in the company that John is running, all right, this cafe that John is running, well, in this case you are a shareholder of that company, and again you are in the same position as John. All right, you're not working for the company, but you have provided them with the investment. So that return that you get at the end of the year from the cafe, maybe every month from the cafe, you are entitled to the growth that the company has had, and you are entitled to the funds that come out every single month from this company. All right, or at least a portion of those funds. All right, so really when you're buying the stock of this business, you are actually the owner, and the owners never really participate in the business. So this is something that you really need to focus on. You really need to understand that the owners are not really working for the company. In this case, they can of course work for the company, they can do both, but most cases when you are looking at it from the stock market's point of view, you're not working for the company. Let's look at how the money flows, and this is really important, and this will help you clear out a lot of concepts. All right, so here there are a few customers for the business, and let's say per hour the business is generating $50. All right, per hours the customers on an average pay the business $50, and that goes into the business. Now what goes on with this money, and how is this $50 used? Right, so let's look at that. So, well, of course we're running a business here, so a couple of things that we need to take care of, right? These are the expenses that we have. All right, so to make the coffee, let's say there are some expenses, then there are expenses for the rent, and then there's the per hour rate of basically whatever you're paying your employee. So let's say that all of these things come around to about $25, and this is really the cost of revenue. All right, you need to understand this is the cost of revenue. And what is the cost of revenue? Well, the cost of revenue is something that you paid to get that revenue, and of course it has to be less than the revenue you actually gained, or otherwise you're actually running in a loss. Well, in this case, luckily the business is generating $50 per hour, and the cost of revenue was $25. So our net profit over here is about $25, and let's just exclude the taxes from that, and you see that the net profit comes out to be $19. And again, this is really the net profit or the earnings. You want to write these terms down. These are the most important terms. Net profit or the earnings is what is left at the end of the day, when you actually kind of you have deducted all of the costs, you have deducted all of the costs that you actually spent to gain that revenue. All right, so that's what is left. In this case, it's $19 per hour. So let's actually kind of go over the differences between a small and a large business, because we want to kind of map this down to a larger business so that you can understand what you are getting yourself into, because on the stock market you're not going to see small businesses, they're only going to be larger businesses. All right, so let's kind of narrow in and show you the differences. All right, so in case of a small business, we saw that we have our customers over here, we have our cafe, that's the business really, and we have John over here who was the one single owner in in this business. All right, and we actually saw how the money really flows, and it was really, really simple, right? There was nothing complicated in that. But in this case, when it's a large business, the customers are of course going to be the same. There are just more customers. The business might be a larger building and fancy stuff over there. And finally, the owners over here are the board of directors. So in case you didn't know by now, what is the role of the board of directors? They are the owners of the company. These are people who own tens of millions of shares in the company, and they are really the board of directors. They don't work, but they represent the people. Let's say you buy 10 stocks, 10 stocks in the company. So really, you don't have enough stocks to be a board of director, but of course, someone has to voice your opinion. Someone has to actually kind of take care of the decisions that the company is going to be making, and they should be in the favor of whatever all the shareholders want. All right, now usually this is not the same thing, but of course it's a lot more complicated than that. But what you need to focus on in this case is to understand that the board of directors do not work for the company, but they own the company. All right, and now you understand that difference. Now everything in that area is clear. So I hope that you know the difference between the board of employees, board of directors, and the by the way, the CEOs, the CFOs, these are all the employees. Actually, they can own the company. Of course, they can own the shares of the company. They can do both, but usually these people are the employees, and the board of directors are people who are the owners or the investors in the company. All right, so great, let's actually move on over here. What is the value of the business now? How does Warren Buffett do that? How did he do that in the previous video when he calculated that the value of the stock actually comes out to be $40 and he bought it at 30 and then gain a 33% return, right? So let's take a look at that. Now over here we'll see that there are, again, in this business, let's kind of try to extrapolate this. So let's say in 1 year this business made $70,000, right? Judging by that $19 per hour and however many hours it works, let's just extrapolate that. Assume that it made $70,000 per year. All right, so well, now again the business has some expenses, so the cost of revenue has to be deducted from the revenue to get the net profit or the earnings. All right, so again in this case the cost of revenue is again more $8,000 for the coffee, $4,000 for the rent and power, and $8,000 for the employee, let's say. All right, in this case we're gonna again deduct these, and we're left with about $50,000, and then we also deduct the taxes, and we are left with $33,000. Let's just say that the $3,000 were spent in something else, some maintenance and something else. So basically we have $30,000, and this is what the business is making per year. This is what the business is making. All right, now let's try to value this business, and let's say that basically how would you actually get a return if you invest in this company. All right, let's say you were to buy the business, then what is the cost that you should buy this business for? All right, and this is really important because you'll understand that, all right, what am I getting myself into when I actually buy a stock. All right, this is where I help you understand what is an undervalued stock and an overvalued stock. So let's say you bought the stock for $300,000. Well, in that case your return will be 10% per year because it's going to make $30,000 per year. So very low risk investment. The cafe is going to keep running in most cases. Well, in that case you are looking at a return of 10% every single year. All right, and let's say you bought it for $200,000. In that case you are looking at a return of 15%, because of course $30,000 every single year on an investment of $200,000. It's simple math. 30,000 divided by 200,000, you get 15%. So every single year you're making 15% on your initial investment. All right, now you can of course put that money back into the business, and things can be more complicated. Anyway, in this case, let's say if you only paid $150,000 for the business and you bought it, in that case it's a pretty good investment because it's making 20% per year consistently, and you have a low risk and you're gaining 20% every year. That's a pretty good investment amount, I think. All right, so again, this is the concept of buying stocks for a lower value. Let's say you bought it at 150,000. In that case, you are buying the stock or buying the company at a very low value, probably lower than what it is worth. So in that case, we are saying that the stock is undervalued. All right, your undervalued means you're getting it for a cheaper price than it actually should be. So in case of an overvalued stock, let's say you bought this for $1 million, well, in that case your return on investment is super low, because that's 30,000 divided by $1 million, because that is your initial investment. So this is really how we kind of go about looking at these stocks. You buy it on an overvalued level, the stock may even fall down, and you will basically lose money on that stock instead of actually gaining a single penny in that year. All right, so make sure that you understand these concepts. These are really the core concepts of investing, and now that you know how you actually find the worth of a business, this was really the most important part, where you actually get to study the businesses and understand how they work. All right, so next video we're gonna go over probably balance sheets and the margin of safety, and we're gonna try to make sure that you understand how those things work, and I'll see you in the next one.